The world is not moved by politeness alone. It bows to strength, to conviction, to presence. You can be kind, but if your kindness has no backbone, it will be mistaken for weakness. You can be generous, but if your generosity has no boundary, it will be exploited. And you can be nice, endlessly nice. But if you never learn to stand tall, people will not respect you. They will take from you. They will drain you. They will smile in your face while they quietly count the pieces of your soul they've pocketed. Respect is not given to those who merely go along. Respect is earned by those who draw lines in the sand and defend them with their life. The history of humanity is not shaped by the agreeable. It is shaped by those who knew when to fight. Look at Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor of Rome. He was calm, thoughtful, reflective, but he ruled an empire. He knew that to govern millions, wisdom was not enough. He had to wield authority with strength, or his empire would crumble under the weight of chaos. Gandhi, known for peace, was not respected merely because he was nice. He was respected because his kindness was fused with unbreakable resolve. A man who could starve himself into near death rather than bow to tyranny. That is why even empires had to listen. His gentleness was not weakness. It was a weapon sharpened by discipline. And so it is with you. If you move through life hoping to be liked by everyone, you will be invisible. You will be stepped on by those louder, greedier, and bolder. And the cruelest part, when your heart breaks, when your sacrifices go unnoticed, when the people you bent over backward for betray you, you will blame them. But the truth is, you let them. You taught them how to treat you. Respect begins with the way you respect yourself. If you tolerate disrespect, you broadcast to the world that you don't deserve better. So you must build walls, not walls that keep love out, but walls that keep your dignity intact. You must learn the power of the word no. A short word, but it saves lives, it saves time, it saves futures. When you say no, you declare to the world, I am not here to be used. I am not here to be a doormat. I am here to live a life of purpose, and anything that dishonors that purpose will not be allowed through my gates. People don't respect the nice. They respect the strong who choose to be kind. That is the secret. Strength first, kindness second. Without strength, kindness is just fragility dressed in pretty clothes. Do not mistake this for arrogance. True strength is not loud. It is not the man screaming to prove he's tough, or the woman belittling others to feel important. That is insecurity in costume. True strength is the calm in the storm. It is the quiet confidence of a person who does not need to raise their voice because their life already speaks for them. Think of steel. Steel is not soft, but it can bend without breaking. Steel can build bridges, towers, and engines that move the world forward. Now, think of glass. Beautiful, delicate, fragile. Handle it with care, and it shines. But one strike, and it shatters into pieces. You must decide what you will be in this life. Glass, admired briefly, but destroyed easily? Or steel, firm, enduring, unshakable? Life does not reward those who ask for permission to exist. Life rewards those who claim their place. When Alexander the Great stood before his army, he was not the tallest man among them. He was not the most physically intimidating. But his men followed him into impossible battles because his spirit was unyielding. He carried himself with the aura of destiny. And people do not question destiny. They respect it. What is your aura saying? Do you walk into rooms quietly begging for approval? Or do you walk in already knowing who you are? The difference is night and day. The first invites pity or exploitation. The second commands respect. Never forget, respect is not demanded with words. Respect is earned through consistency, through discipline, through integrity that cannot be bought. Integrity, that is the real currency of respect. Because in a world where lies and masks are everywhere, a person who stands honest, even if it costs them, is rare. And rarity breeds value. So ask yourself, what do I stand for? What will I never compromise, no matter the price? If you don't have an answer, then you are vulnerable. You are like a ship with no anchor. Any storm, any manipulator, any distraction can toss you around until you no longer know which way is home. But when you define your values, when you decide who you are and who you will never be, you become unshakable. You become the type of person who cannot be swayed by peer pressure, by bribes, by temporary pleasures. And that is when respect begins to follow you. Not because you chase it, but because it has no choice. Do you think Winston Churchill was liked by everyone? Not at all. He was hated by many. But in the darkest hour of war, when Britain faced annihilation, he stood in Parliament and declared, "We shall never surrender." And in that moment, respect for him echoed across the world. Why? Because the world knew this man could not be bent. That is the paradox. When you stop trying to be liked, you become respected. People might not agree with you. They might not understand you. But they will feel something unshakable in your presence. And deep down, even your enemies will respect you. Listen closely. Your future depends not on how many people smile at you, but on how many people know they cannot break you. Respect is not built on charm. Respect is built on boundaries. Respect is not about pleasing the crowd. Respect is about standing alone if necessary. Respect is not handed down. Respect is carved out of the rock of adversity. And once you earn it, it lasts longer than applause, longer than likes, longer than fleeting validation. Because applause fades, likes disappear, validation evaporates. But respect, real respect, remains etched in memory. The truth is, the world is starving for people with a spine, for people who will not bend just because bending is easier, for people who will hold their ground when everyone else sells theirs, for people who will sacrifice comfort to keep their honor. That could be you. But you must decide. Will you keep living to be liked, or will you rise to be respected? Because being liked makes you soft. Being respected makes you eternal. Respect is not about volume. It is not about being the loudest voice in the room. The loudest voice often conceals the smallest spirit. Respect comes from the weight of your presence, from the sense that when you speak, your words are backed by a life lived in alignment with them. People can smell authenticity. They can feel it in your tone, see it in your eyes, sense it in the way you move. And they can just as easily smell when you are hollow, when you're only saying what you think they want to hear. That's why the disciplined man commands more respect than the talkative dreamer. Dreams are cheap. Discipline is expensive, and the world knows it. When you walk into a room carrying the scars of battles you fought and won, or even battles you lost but refused to surrender in, you radiate something unspoken. That unspoken power is respect. Napoleon Bonaparte once said, "A soldier will fight long and hard for a bit of colored ribbon." Why? Because that ribbon represents sacrifice. It represents discipline. It represents a life where words and actions aligned. And so it is with you. People may never understand your entire story, but they will feel your discipline, your courage, your refusal to quit, and they will respect you for it. The tragedy of the nice person is not that they are kind. Kindness is beautiful. The tragedy is that they often give their kindness away with no filter, no standard, no boundary. And the more they give without boundary, the more they are drained, until what once was kindness becomes bitterness. They start resenting people for taking. But the truth is, they never taught anyone where to stop. Boundaries are not walls of cruelty. They are fences of clarity. They say, "I love you, but you may not cross this line. I respect you, but I will not allow you to disrespect me. I care for you, but I will not destroy myself to make you comfortable." Think of the samurai of Japan. They were warriors, trained in combat, deadly with a blade. But they also lived by Bushido, the way of honor. They were polite, disciplined, respectful, but make no mistake. Beneath that politeness was steel. They embodied the perfect balance, courtesy with power, respect with backbone. That is why they were both feared and revered. You must become the modern warrior, not with swords or shields, but with principles sharper than any blade. Principles that you will not compromise no matter what. Because here is the secret: weakness invites predators. The world is full of people who will sense softness and exploit it. They do not always do it maliciously. Sometimes they do it simply because human nature seeks advantage. But whether by malice or by instinct, weakness is always targeted, and the only defense is strength. If you have ever wondered why people ignore your opinions, why they overlook your effort, why they pass over your contributions, it is not always because they hate you. Often, it is because you have not yet cultivated the presence that forces them to pay attention. Do not beg to be heard. Become so grounded, so unshakable, that silence becomes louder than their noise. Look at Frederick Douglass. Born into slavery, beaten, humiliated, told he was less than human. And yet, through relentless courage, through unbreakable determination, he educated himself. He spoke. He wrote, he rose, and when he stood before crowds, they listened, not because he asked them to, but because his very existence radiated defiance against every chain that tried to hold him. Respect is born when you overcome chains. The chains of fear, the chains of insecurity, the chains of dependency. And once you break them, you will never be the same. Do you want to be liked? Then tell people what they want to hear. Do you want to be respected? Then tell them the truth, even when it costs you. Truth is expensive, but so is respect, and both are worth more than comfort. The path of the respected man or woman is not easy. It demands sacrifice. It demands nights where you stand alone, because you refuse to betray yourself just to stay in the crowd. It demands mornings where you rise when your body begs to sleep, because your vision matters more than your excuses. It demands that you stop waiting for approval and start living by principle. Remember this: respect is built when no one is watching. It is built in the silence of your habits. When you keep your word to yourself, even in the smallest things, you start to carry yourself differently. Your walk changes, your eyes change. People may not know why, but they feel the difference. Have you noticed how some people walk into a room and instantly the energy shifts? No announcement, no introduction, but suddenly all eyes are on them. That is the aura of respect. And it is not magic. It is not luck. It is the visible residue of years of alignment, years of saying yes to discipline, no to compromise, yes to purpose, no to distraction. If you want to command that kind of presence, you must start today. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Because every compromise chips away at your aura, and every act of integrity polishes it. Your life is a message. The only question is it a message of strength or of weakness? Think of Nelson Mandela, 27 years in prison, 27 years of chains, of isolation, of attempts to break him. But they could not. And when he walked free, he did not walk as a broken man. He walked with dignity, with fire, with calm authority. The very same people who once called him a criminal now bowed to him as a leader. That is the power of unbreakable presence. And here is a truth that will sting. If you live only to be liked, people may smile at you, but deep down, they will not trust you. Why? Because they know you are too eager to please. And if you will betray yourself to keep them happy, one day you will betray them too. But if you live with strength, if you live with boundaries, if you live with principle, then even your critics will trust you. They may not agree with you, but they will know you cannot be bought. One of the greatest illusions of life is that you must choose between kindness and strength. You do not. The strongest people are often the kindest, because their kindness is not born of fear, but of abundance. They do not give to be liked. They give because they are secure enough not to need anything back. That is the person you are meant to become. Strong enough to stand alone. Secure enough to be kind without fear. Wise enough to know when to say yes and when to say no. Because if you never learn to say no, your yes means nothing. Stop trying to be everyone's friend. Stop trying to smooth every rough edge. Stop trying to avoid every conflict. You are not here to disappear into the background. You are here to stand tall, to live loud in your own truth, to walk through fire and not bow. The world respects fire. The world respects courage. The world respects those who will not be moved. So the next time you're tempted to compromise your values just to be liked, remember this. The respect you lose is far more costly than the approval you gain, and approval vanishes. But respect, once earned, echoes for generations. Respect is not a mask you wear, it is a force you become. And to become that force, you must face the parts of yourself that crave approval like oxygen. You must stare into the mirror and admit, I have been weak. I have been small. I have lived bending my spine to please those who never deserved it. That honesty is the beginning of transformation, because you cannot build strength on a foundation of lies. The moment you stop running from that truth, you unlock something primal. You begin to remember that your blood carries the memory of warriors, builders, dreamers, and visionaries. That you're not here to bow to everyone else's script. You are here to write your own. But writing it requires courage. And courage will always cost you something. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you popularity. It will cost you the easy applause of the crowd. Yet what you gain in return is immeasurable: self-respect. And once you respect yourself, the world will have no choice but to echo it back. Think of Spartacus, the gladiator slave who rose against Rome. By every measure, he was doomed, outnumbered, outarmed, crushed under the might of an empire. Yet men followed him. Why? Because he carried himself with a presence that said, I would rather die with dignity than live without it. That kind of strength pulls others into orbit. People follow those who cannot be bent. Even enemies admire it. Even critics bow to it. Because deep down, everyone hungers for someone who refuses to sell their soul. And make no mistake, every day your soul is up for sale. Cheap temptations, easy escapes, shallow rewards. If you take them, you may buy approval, but you bankrupt respect. So you must choose. Do you want comfort or do you want character? Because you cannot have both. Comfort asks you to shrink. Character asks you to expand. Comfort tells you to nod, smile, agree. Character tells you to rise, to resist, to demand more from yourself and the world. Comfort dies quietly. Character lives loudly, long after you're gone. When Martin Luther King Jr. stood at the Lincoln Memorial, declaring that he had a dream, he was not speaking to be liked. In fact, he was hated, hunted, threatened, but his dream was carved in stone because it was fused with conviction. And decades later, the respect he earned still fuels generations. What about you? Will you be remembered as the one who was liked for a season or the one who was respected for a lifetime? Respect is built in the trenches of discipline. Every time you refuse to quit, you carve another line of strength into your character. Every time you tell the truth when lying would be easier, you sharpen your integrity. Every time you walk away from what disrespects you, you declare to the world, I am not cheap. I am not for sale. Do not underestimate the power of a single decision. One firm no can redefine how people see you. One act of courage can shift the way the world treats you. Look at Rosa Parks. One day, one bus, one decision. No, I will not move. That single moment of strength ignited a fire of respect that shook a nation. Respect does not always come from grand speeches or long battles. Sometimes it comes from one unshakable stand. And you will face your own bus moment, your own test of dignity. Will you move or will you rise? Respect is not found in avoiding conflict. It is found in choosing which battles are worth fighting and then fighting them with everything you have. You cannot fight every battle. You will exhaust yourself. But you must fight the ones that define your character. When you refuse to be disrespected, when you refuse to betray your values, when you refuse to shrink back into silence, that is when respect is forged. And once you have tasted it, you will never settle for being merely liked again. Because being liked feels good for a moment. Being respected feels right forever. Do you know why people respect the lion? It is not the biggest animal, not the fastest, not even the strongest. But when the lion walks, every other creature feels its presence. It does not beg for recognition. It does not shout. It simply carries itself as king. And the jungle agrees. That is the model for your life. You do not need to prove yourself with noise. You need to embody such quiet conviction that the world recognizes it without you saying a word. That conviction will not come from pretending. It comes from paying the price. It comes from early mornings where you rise before the sun. It comes from late nights where you sacrifice pleasure for purpose. It comes from telling yourself the truth when no one else will. Respect grows in the soil of sacrifice. And if you are unwilling to pay the price, you will remain liked, but never respected. The question is, are you willing to pay? Because make no mistake, the bill will come. It will come in the form of criticism. It will come in the form of isolation. It will come in the form of doubt. But if you endure it, if you stay the course, the reward will come too. And the reward is not just respect from others. It is the peace of finally respecting yourself. That peace is priceless, because most people live in quiet war with themselves. They lie to keep others happy, then hate themselves in silence. They say yes when they want to say no, then drown in regret. They play nice, then cry in private because they feel invisible. But you can break that cycle. You can walk into the mirror and see someone you respect, someone you trust, someone who does not flinch when tested. When you reach that point, you will realize that respect is not something the world gives you. It is something you already carry. The world simply mirrors it back. So, stand tall, speak truth, protect your boundaries, live with discipline. Do not aim to be liked by many. Aim to be respected by the one person who matters most, the one staring back at you in the mirror. Because if you can look yourself in the eye and say, "I lived with honor," then whether the world applauds or boos, you will walk as a giant. And giants do not beg for respect. Giants are respect. Respect is not about what you wear, what you drive, or how many followers you have. Those things can be bought, faked, or stolen. True respect is different. True respect is carved into the bone of who you are. It is earned, slowly, painfully, through choices that cost you comfort but buy you dignity. And dignity, that is the crown the world cannot take off you. Do not forget this. People will test you. Life will test you. The world will lean against you just to see if you'll break. Every time you bend too easily, you teach them that your soul is negotiable. Every time you hold your ground, you teach them that your spirit is untouchable. And one day, when the storms come, and they will come, you will discover what you are made of. Will you crumble like sand, or will you stand like stone? Stone is not admired for being soft. Stone is admired for being immovable. You do not need to be hard against everyone. But when it comes to your values, your self-respect, your vision, you must be a wall of granite. Because people don't respect the nice. They respect the immovable. Listen closely. Being liked might win you company for a night. Being respected will win you legacy for a lifetime. Look at Abraham Lincoln. He was mocked, doubted, resisted, opposed. He wasn't liked in every room he entered. But when the nation was tearing itself apart, when the very soul of America was bleeding, it was Lincoln's resolve, his refusal to compromise on the core truth of human freedom, that cemented him as one of history's giants. He did not chase approval. He chased principle. And because of it, the world carved his name in stone. That's the mark of the respected life. You outlast the whispers of critics, the fleeting laughter of doubters, the shallow applause of fans. Respect echoes long after the noise dies. And here's the truth no one tells you. To be respected, you must be willing to be hated. Yes, hated. Because standing for something guarantees you will offend those who stand for nothing. And that is fine. That is the price. Weak men fold to avoid hatred. Strong men accept it to build legacy. The philosopher Seneca once wrote, "It is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness. Do you understand? Respect is not born in ease. It is forged in fire. Every scar, every rejection, every insult you endure without betraying yourself. That is another brick in the fortress of your presence. And when that fortress is built, you will not need to scream for respect. It will radiate from you like heat from the sun. People will feel it before you speak. They will measure their words around you, not because you demanded it, but because your life commands it. Do not be the person who dies with 1,000 friends, but no self-respect. Be the person who, even if they die with few allies, dies with their head unbowed, their soul intact. That is the difference between being liked and being respected. Liked is external, respected is eternal. So let me ask you, how will you live? Will you live soft, chasing smiles and cheap approval? Or will you live strong, building a name that echoes after you are gone? History remembers those who stood firm. Socrates, drinking the hemlock rather than betray truth. Joan of Arc, burned alive rather than bow to corruption. Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for decades rather than surrender his cause. None of them were liked by all, but all of them are respected forever. And you may think, but I am not them. I am not a hero. I am just one person. And I tell you, every giant began as just one person. Respect begins in the small moments, when no one is watching, when you refuse to gossip, when you refuse to break your word, when you refuse to compromise for scraps of approval. In those small moments, you become the kind of person the world cannot ignore. Do not underestimate the power of one man or woman who respects themselves. One person who will not bend can shift the destiny of families, of communities, of nations. And here is the last truth I will leave with you. Respect is freedom. When you are liked, you're still a prisoner to opinions, to moods, to validation. But when you're respected, you're free. Because you no longer dance for applause. You no longer chase shadows. You walk in your own light and the world adjusts around you. That is the highest form of power. Not money, not fame, not comfort, but the unshakable respect of others, born from the unshakable respect you hold for yourself. So stand tall, stand strong, do not shrink, do not beg, do not trade your dignity for approval, because the world doesn't respect the nice. The world respects the strong who choose kindness from strength. The world respects the unbreakable. The world respects the immovable. The world respects the fire that does not bow to the wind. And if you become that, if you rise into that power, then you will never again walk as just another face in the crowd. You will walk as a storm. You will walk as a lion. You will walk as a presence that cannot be ignored. And in the end, when your days are finished and your name is spoken, people will not say, "He was nice." They will say, with reverence in their voice, "He was respected."